Hi, my name is Carlissa Fallon, and my project was pastry and baking. For my hook, as a child, I didn't really have a strong passion for baking. It was more of something I did around the house to help out with my family. And eventually, over time, working with that and doing that a lot all the time, it became something that I was really passionate about and something that I really enjoy. And it's still something that I really enjoy to this day. For my thesis, it's an analysis of the amount of unhealthy food and related health risks with sugar and processed food reveals the need for food with the same sweet taste without the abundance of sugar and the decrease in processed food consumption. For my research, it's the effect of sugar and the brain and the effects of processed foods and sugar. For my research, this was mainly about how we are programmed to seek out sugar, and it's still something that we are doing to this day. In the past, we didn't have a lot of sugar. It was something that was scarce to none, something that we couldn't find a lot of the time. And so when we did find sugar, we tried to eat as much of it as we could, as fast as we could, to get our sugar intake. And we still look for these things today to eat as much sugar as we can, and this leads to diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and obesity, which was a major part of my research. Another thing that I researched was to satisfy the sugar hunger by making pastries with less sugar and more natural sugars and better ingredients, mainly to have that same sugary taste, but without the abundance of sugar that we really don't need. For my statistical data, I have major sources of added sugars such as soft drinks, fruits, coffees, teas, and grains, things like those that are a part of sugar that have sugar in it, and that we need to be conscious about how much we eat. My second graph is sugar consumed per person per year, and it's a large incline from the 1500s to 2017, as you can see by the drastic increase in sugar. And the graph below it shows relationships between sugar intake and risk of diabetes. And the graphs are very similar, with the dramatic increase, which shows how much sugar we intake and the increase in people with diabetes. For my resources, 2014, we're programmed to seek out sugar and our brains are wired to crave more, which was something that I stated before in our previous slide. It's that we continue to look for these sugars and eat as much as we can when we really don't need them. And my second quote was 300 to 400 calories daily. That's more than our ancestors ate in an entire lifetime, which again shows that back in the earlier times of humans, we really didn't have that much sugar, so we were programmed to seek it out, and we eat way more sugar than they have and way more sugar than we need. My mentor is Kelsey Burak. She is the pastry chef at Helms College, and she is a teacher there, and she teaches pastry baking there. She also makes new recipes for Edgar's Grill, the front of the restaurant. And she also starred in an episode of Chopped Sweet, which I believe she won. And she was an amazing mentor, and I'm glad I had the experience to be mentored by her. It was something that I think about a lot, especially when I'm cooking. This is my lesson plan and itinerary. The recipe for cinnamon rolls, and it's a recipe that has a lot less sugar than what normal recipes would have for cinnamon rolls, and it still tastes really sweet and it's really delicious. And this is the video of how it was made. Those are the ingredients, and this is the yeast, which is an important part of the recipe because it allows the dough to rise and it makes it very fluffy and really delicious to eat. You let it sit for an hour, and then you add another leavening agent, baking powder, some salt, and the rest of the flour to make the dough more cohesive. Then you make sure your surfaces are clean and floured. So then you knead the dough, and then you can roll out the dough. Then you put the butter and brown sugar and the cinnamon. You roll the dough, and then you can cut them into about 1 to 1.5 inch rolls. Make sure your cake pan is oiled, and then you arrange them with enough space for them to proof for their second time, about 30 minutes. And then those are the extras, you can freeze those for later. And after it's done proofing for the second time, you can bake them for about 30 minutes in the oven. That's the icing. It's a simple recipe, and that's the end result. This recipe is really easy to make, and here are the cinnamon rolls. They're really easy to make, really delicious, and they're one of my favorite things to make. And you can make them really easily. It just takes about 3 hours to make, but it's really good. For my personal and public impact, my learning experience has allowed me to get a first-hand experience in the kitchen, and I learned a lot about the rules and safety precautions in the kitchen, such as not walking with the knife straight up, or there's this really cool thing that they have in the kitchen. It's called a salamander. You cannot put parchment paper in it because it will catch on fire. And this experience has also helped me to get over some anxiety about ruining and wasting ingredients if I fail a recipe. It was something that was kind of held me back from making a lot of things because I didn't want to waste money and waste ingredients if I failed a recipe. But really working with my mentor has really helped me get through that, and it's helped me make a lot of things that I really enjoy without that holding me back from making the things that I love. In conclusion, I do plan on pursuing this career in the future. I plan on attending Johnson & Wales in Charlotte, North Carolina in the fall. I've been really looking forward to going to this school, and after college I plan on having my own business, but the logistics of that are not exactly clear, but I do have a lot of time to figure that out. Thank you. I would now like to open the floor to any questions.